Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And tonight we got another builder from the High Class Trash Build Off newbie class. What's going on, Jake Weaver?
Oh, not much. Glad to be on the show here, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, man. It's very, very awesome to get to talk to y'all because, doing this, coming up on 2 years, I've talked to a lot of people that are local and getting out and seeing what the car culture and car scene, the environment is outside of, our little southeastern region. And y'all guys are killing it, up Northeast, Midwest with the rat rod stuff, and then getting the opportunity to talk to some of y'all and kind of pick your brains on what y'all got going on.
Yeah, I mean, we're, there's definitely a good group of us up here. I'm up here in Minnesota, southeastern corner. It's a frigid 18 degrees out right now. But, there's a ton of guys around here that are into the rat rods. There's, I think, about 3 or 4 guys, if not maybe a couple more, that are probably within 40, 45 miles of me.
Yeah, that little pocket of states up there, basically where it's all cold. I don't think there's anybody from down here.
I looked at looking at the builders in the 3 main classes. I don't know. I don't know if I've really seen in the outlaw class, but there's 6 of us total, if I remember correct, from Minnesota alone. I mean, it just blew me away. I started chuckling when I looked at that and I counted up. I'm like, there's 6 of us from Minnesota. We have the highest count of state of anywhere else. It's amazing that there is such it's pretty cool that there's that many people around here that are into the rat rods.
So what originally got you into cars?
Well, I would have to say, my grandpa was the big thing that got me into cars. My grandpa moved back down to southeastern Minnesota back in 1989, and he was into MOPARs. It was fin cars. He had a '59 Plymouth Sport Fury convertible. It was probably one of the first cars he bought. And he had that up till about 2010 or so, and he sold that off. But he had 61 Imperials. He had, the Sotos, Dodge Custom Royal. If it had fins, he owned it as a Mopar. Just a bunch of beautiful cars. And I remember as a kid going cruising with them in them, and those things floated down the road, and I thought they were the coolest things ever. And the last car that my grandpa had before he passed was a '65 Plymouth Sport Fury. And cool car. Definitely no fins, no sex appeal. When I first looked at that car, I wasn't sold on it. And I was going to let it go to auction. And then I was like, you know what? It's probably the only car that I'm probably ever going to be able to own that I know for sure was my grandpa's car.
Right.
So I decided to buy it. It's a '65 Plymouth Sport Fury, 383 two-barrel, has factory cruise, factory air, power windows, power seats, rear window defrost, AM/FM radio with factory rear speaker with a reverb. The car is absolutely loaded. There's over $1,000 worth of options on that car for 1965. Sold new up out of Virginia, Minnesota, which my grandpa lived not too terribly far away from there, up in Babbitt, Minnesota. So that was one of them things I always chuckle. I'm like, well, maybe my grandpa probably passed this car on the highway back when he was living up there in the 60s and 70s. But my grandpa passed, and I said I had to have that car, and that started me on the shiny car route. And I still have that 65. I had a 61 Imperial for a little while. I had a 56 Belvedere that I traded off for a 58 Dodge 3/4 ton step side pickup. I had a 68 3/4 ton Dodge pickup that I drove out to Lincoln, Nebraska to pick up and drove back. I decided I wasn't going to do anything with it, so I sold it to a friend of mine's dad, and they got it running and driving. And it was shortly after that I decided that I was going to, I came across another 68 Dodge 3/4 ton that was nearby, and that was back in 2021, I think it was, when I bought that truck. And I did a little bit of work on it, and it's just sat there. And a handful of years ago, a good buddy of mine I've known since elementary school, Travis Nordy, he owns DX Customs, built some amazing rat rods, built Big Sexy for the rat rod build off 2 years ago at Rat Stock.
Mm-hmm.
I had caught him at the local speed shop in town here in Racine, Minnesota, and he had this rat rod that he just built that I believe had a Ford engine that was out of a dump truck, an old dump truck that engine was kind of on its last leg. He took me for a ride out in that car took me a few mile cruise, and it was cool. I mean, I was kind of hooked at that point in time. I was still kind of like, it's cool that other people own this stuff. I'm gonna stick to my shiny cars. Well, fast forward to 2024, 2023. Travis is entering in the rat rod build off. And, I kind of watched that build. I stopped by his place maybe once or twice and pretty much just hung out with him and watched him build on it. And I didn't do a single thing because I didn't know what to do. But a group of us went down to Rat Stock, and I had a blast watching the burnouts, the flame throwing contests, looking at all the cool rat rods that were there, seeing the different styles, mm-hmm. From the rusty to the not so rusty, and like, this is pretty cool. And the bond. I met so many people that I new to me, and it's almost like instantly became friends. It reminded me much of, I used to collect vintage snowmobiles, and that's a small knit community, where it's, you get to know people really quick from going to shows and stuff. And that's exactly how this whole rat rod community seems, is it's really tight knit, and, everybody's close, willing to help. I went to Rat Stock this last year. There was another group of us went down from Minnesota here. Went with Travis and Simon Havocan from Simon Says Garage. Travis's dad had just recently passed away this year, and his dad had a 37 Ford that Travis let me drive down. So I drove that down there, and I don't know, it's supposed to be like a 3-hour drive. It took us 5-6 hours to get down there. We had a few breakdowns. I think some header bolts, a couple times there's some issues, and trans cooler I think we needed to replace. And one of them stops, I rolled up the window so I get out and we could go to the bar that we pulled up to, and I rolled the window up in that car, and I looked, and I'm like, oh no. That window was cracked, and it wasn't cracked when I picked the car up. When I was driving the car, getting used to it, and so I instantly called Travis. I'm like, dude, I owe you a window. Like, I don't know what happened. I had the window's been down the whole time, so I just rolled it up, and it's cracked all over. So we taped it up. I'm like, that's it. It should hold. Hopefully, it holds until we get home. And I found a shop up in northern Minnesota, north of the cities, that just so happens they sell the windows for that. They sell the glass for it. So I was able to get the glass for it, and were able to get that thing. Travis was able to get that fixed back up again. But I made the comment while we were down at Ratstock. I said, Travis, I'm done. I said, if I'm going to break stuff, I'm going to do it in my own vehicle. I said, it's not quite enjoyable. Fixing stuff on somebody else's car that I break, and he's like, oh, he goes, well, that's cool. And I'm sure he'd let me take the car again if I wanted to. I ended up giving it a new hood ornament, that I bought from a friend of ours that makes, cool sculptures out of scrap metal. And it's this dude that's holding a little Jack Daniels bottle, giving you the middle finger. Perfect hood ornament for that car. But yeah, so I decided I wasn't going to do it, and I was deciding, I'm like, well, I'm going to build something. I'm like, what do I want to do? So I have a 55 Belvedere that's sitting in hibernation, and I also have a 68 Dodge Street quarter ton. I was bouncing back and forth, and when this high-class trash build-off came about, I seen it, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And that's pretty much where it's at. And my buddy Simon and Travis, they were going back and forth a little bit, and Simon's like, hey, I know a good videographer if you need one, I'll have to record. And I'm like, you know what? I want to get on this conversation. I'm like, Simon, I might need a guy to help make this audition video. He goes, cool, let me know when. And I'm like, oh shit, I just did it. I just set myself up to trying to enter this build off. So I'm like, all right, cool. Now we're going to do something. So again, I still went back and forth, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to land on this 68 Dodge pickup. This thing's been sitting for a while. I want to get this thing rolling. And I'm like, this is a perfect excuse to get this truck rolling. Initially, I was just going to pull 2 leaf springs out of each corner and drop in a 360 Magnum in it. Easy swap, easy. It's all easy, simple things to do.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, I can't do that. Not for a build off. That's just dumb. That's just doing a couple things. So, and I'm like, well, shoot. I'm like, this thing's 8 lug. 8 lug, that's hard to find wheels for. Let's go find a half-ton chassis. And let's start with a half-ton chassis, and we can lower that, and we can put our engine in it, and so on and so forth. And at that point in time, I was still leaning towards a 360 Magnum. And all of a sudden, one Saturday morning, I woke up early, could not get back to sleep, and I'm like, can't do a 360 Magnum. That's easy. That's just, there's nothing cool about it besides it's a 360 small block. And then I remembered I had this intake sitting in my shop underneath my workbench that I sent a friend of mine up to the Iola car show in Iola, Wisconsin, several years ago to pick up some cool stuff for my 65 Plymouth Sport Fury. And he shows up with this cast iron dual quad intake. I'm like, what in the hell am I going to do with this? I'm like, we don't modify Grandpa's car. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? He goes, I don't know. He goes, I thought it looked cool. And I looked up the part number on it, and it's for a 1958 350 Chrysler engine. I'm like, cool. I'm like, 350, that's a common engine. They only made that one year. So, but then I found out it's for a B block engine. I'm like, okay, well that's usable, And so that Saturday, when I finally got up out of bed, I'm like, all right, what are my options for B block engine? And the largest B block is a 400. So why not go with a 400 B block? So this truck now is getting a 400 cubic inch big block Chrysler engine with a dual quad intake, cast iron intake.
Okay.
So we're going to be running two 600 CFM Metalback carbs that I've been, Minnesota winters are far from warm. They're rather frigid, and some people are good at procrastinating as far as maybe, say insulating their shop so that it can retain heat and you can work in it year round. That person being me. I'm using this.
You got car parts to buy.
Absolutely. So I'm like, what my excuse this year is, I'm just, for this winter, not a whole lot, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of videos being put out on YouTube and on my Facebook page, except for maybe like, here's my parts updates. This is what I got. This is where I'm going. Because it's going to be a little chilly out in that shop. I've got a few things. There's going to be some warm days where I'll be able to get out there and go to town on it. But, I've been gathering things up. My son and we drove 5 hours up to northwestern Minnesota. We were like, we could probably throw a baseball and land into North Dakota. Drove all the way up there to pick up a chassis, a 1970 Dodge D200 chassis. Of all places, I'm like, the whole way up there, I'm like, if you'd have asked me 2 months ago, hey, would you drive 5 hours for a half-ton Dodge chassis? The answer would have been hell no. Like, I got better things to do. But now I'm finding myself doing the 5-hour trip to go pick stuff up, and we got the engine pulled out of that. Got that sold for, I think, $200 because it had a 318 with a 727 auto behind it. No need for it. Got rid of that. And Bruce Steinberg, another great guy in the rat ride community. He lives, I think it was about a half hour, 45 minutes away from me. He allowed me to come over to his place and make a huge mess behind his shop. This truck chassis originally came out of Oklahoma, and it was slathered in grease and Oklahoma dust. I think it was about 18 degrees that day outside with the pressure washer for about 4 hours, cleaning all the muck off the engine, the transmission, and the frame. Got that thing. I mean, it was so clean you could about get off of it. So I got it home. I got the engine pulled out. I took it to car wash, got another final cleaning on it. All while getting made fun of, like, why are you cleaning it? Look at my rat rod that I'm starting with. I've got mouse poop and raccoon poop and rust and all this stuff. And I'm like, look, I don't like getting dirty, which is funny because I'm a maintenance mechanic, maintenance lead for a fiberglass pultrusion plant nearby. And so even there, I don't like getting dirty. I like to be clean. But so I'm starting with as clean as possible. We're going to lower the truck. I don't know how much I'll be able to get it lowered, how deep. I know last week I just went and I drove 2.5 hours to get leaf springs, 4x4 leaf springs. So that'll lower the front end of it, I think, somewhere between like 2 to 3 inches. And I'm really hoping for that 3-inch neighborhood because of that little extra weight of that big block. We'll drop it 3 inches. And then I got to do in the rear end, I picked up Sid's drop axles, lowering shackles and whatnot. So that'll allow me to bring that rear end down nice and level. They were trying to sell me on a dropped axle to get a lot more drop out of it. And I said, look, I'd love to, but unless you're doing it for free, I'm on a tight budget of $5,000 that we'll see come towards the end that if I've got leftover money, then by all means, let's stretch the axle and drop it. But, if I'm doing some engine work and one of the exhaust setups that I really never see is the NASCAR style boom tube.
Okay.
And so my plan is to make up a set of boom tubes to exit in front of the rear tires with cutouts so I can run them through. I've got a set of old cherry bomb glass packs that I'll probably just pipe those through to be in that quote unquote quiet mode. And then I can go wide open and just do obnoxious straight pipe right through the boom tubes. And I'm really hoping that this is going to be a pretty radical sound that I'm not going to regret. I plan on doing a little bit of head work because, the 400 MOPAR engine, it's got a lot of people aren't to speak too highly of it, I would say. Mainly because it came out during the smog era where everything was detuned. Or these heads. Yeah, I mean, these heads, they'll work, but you just need to clean them up and finesse them. From what I've been researching, NASCAR use these heads on their cars. I believe it's a number 452, I think it is. It's got the hardened seats, which is a huge bonus because then I don't have to worry about putting in hardened seats or mixing that fuel up so that it'll be sufficient. But I also went and picked up a vintage topper for it right up in Zumbrota, which I ended up finding out the thing was sold 10 miles away from me, and it has a tag on it. So I think that was one of the cool things, because this truck is going to be, I'm trying to tie a lot of it into the local area. My great grandpa used to sell Pride seed, and that's kind of one of the things, I want to incorporate my great grandpa's business of that into the truck as far as having it on their weathered Pride seed corn dealer with his name on it and the town. So then that's in there, and I've got some Pride seed corn, like a vest and stuff like that I can throw in the truck. And the other cool thing is with the brand of sawmills that I used to collect, they were called Speedway, made out of Mansfield, Ohio for 3 years. They are a deep metal flake blue. I mean, absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous color. You get that in the sunlight and it just sparkles. I happen to have some of that flake left over. And so this Dodge pickup is white, and the top portion of the roof, I think the plan is I want to find a cool pattern for lace and just spray that metal flake over the top of it to give it that nice sparkle.
Yeah,
give it a unique look.
Be nice that'll kind of give you a little bit of a contrast.
Yeah, I mean, it's, am I doing the standard or typical style rat rod build? I don't think so. I mean, I'm keeping it crusty. I'm keeping it, keeping it as it is. And I'm not restoring the truck. I might go through and kind of scuff it up in some spots to wear through that paint and give it a little protecting afterwards. I know the hood has two different colors of white on it. I'll probably scuff that up and try to see if I can get to the original white. But like the cool thing of this truck is going to be its stance and what's under the hood. I think it's gonna be sweet when that hood gets opened up and you see two carburetors sitting back to back on top of this old cast iron intake. I think that's gonna be pretty killer.
And you said you're not building the typical rat rod. Well, I mean, it's not. That's the one kind of good thing of that genre of cars is there is no typical.
Right.
It's kind of whatever you want. So, And a lot of times you get in, it's very easily, and it's not just rat rods, it's traditional hot rods, it's every class of them. It's really easy to step into what everybody's doing. You know, it seemed like there for a little while, it was Model A coupes and two-door sedans, and that's kind of why when I was doing the Model A, I searched for a four-door because
everybody's got a two-door.
Nobody was doing them, and then I figured out why. You know, there's not a lot of there's no aftermarket support, and there's not a lot that the two-door shares with the four-door body-wise, sheet metal-wise. But then now you're seeing more and more of them come out. So it's, you know, you kind of got to pick what you want and kind of do whatever's going to work best for you. And the truck idea, especially incorporating the camper and a little bit of shiny and kind of the ode back to, you know, local heritage, family ties, you know, that kind of, to me, it makes it worth it. It makes it, you know, we can 100%. See where you went.
Right. You know, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that, you know, when Simon, when he was over and kind of helped me make the first video, which I watched it, and I'm like, I sound like an idiot. I suck. I'm like, I want to go out and redo it. And I don't know. I think for that audition video, I think I made 5 or 6 different like attempts at it before I finally landed on something that I liked. And even then, after I sent it, I'm like, you know what? I probably could have done better. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the things, like, you know, I mentioned to Simon, like, I'm not looking at this contest to build it to win. You know, for me, the prize is completing this truck, and even the cooler prize is to drive this thing down to Mississippi, like, and hang out with a whole bunch of cool people, like, you know, the whole group of us that entered into this competition, and just arrive at Mississippi. That there, I won. You know, to me, that's the achievement.
Well, and also,
you know, I built something, and I've made it this many miles, drove it this many miles, plus the cruise that we're going to be doing too. Hell, that's a win in my book.
Well, and also, like you said, getting down there is a victory. Cruising down there, that's the one thing I love about Rat Stock, and I'm glad that, you know, they chose to kind of continue on with that same style of getting y'all together and cruising down.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, like me and you were talking before the podcast, you know, a lot of times the show itself is cool, but the road trip to get there, the stories, that's the best part at times, you know? Yeah. And you know, it was kind of made me think when you were saying, you know, you went down in your buddy's car first time, and, you know, it was fun, but, you know, that was kind of how I felt with the road trip that we took. Like, I had a blast, and it was an awesome trip, and, you know, 99% of was trouble free. I mean, the flathead in the end kind of started to give up the ghost, but trying to ask a 74-year-old flathead to pull a pop-up camper, you know, for however many miles it is from Montana to California. You know, we're asking a lot of it, but
yeah.
And I said, you know, me and Brian were talking before we got back on the plane, and, you know, it was like, you know, this was awesome, but I want to do it in my own shit. One, you kind of can go, well, that's okay, and it's your shit, so if it blows up, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're trying to make a decision on somebody else's car, and now you're like, I hope I made the right one.
Right. You know, it was my buddy's dad's car. You know, it was his car that he built. You know, and I mean, I think I knew Travis's dad, Bob. I think I probably knew Bob before I met Travis. I mean, you know, which is crazy because I was probably 7, 8 years old watching his dad pour concrete or something like that down at a neighbor's house. And that was one of the cool stories. Bob was always like, "Oh, I remember you were just a little shit and you just pulled up and you just sat and watched me work." So, you know, it was kind of cool. Like I got to drive his car. I mean, to me, that was a huge honor. Yeah. You know, it was really cool. But, you know, like I said, I'd rather break my own shit. You know, and the other cool thing is I plan on having this done. At least phase 1 of it is driving to be ready for the rat stock cruise along Route 66. That's my another big goal that I want to get to is I want to be able to get this truck done to that point to where it can be running, driving, and I can get some miles put on it before that cruise, because Route 66 has always been kind of a bucket list thing for me. Mm-hmm. And what other cool way to tour Route 66 and with a bunch of other cool folks with rat rods? You know, I mean, to me, that is way better than any other way I envisioned cruising Route 66. And the stops and the memories. I mean, mm-hmm. The memories are all that much better and give me a good opportunity to find out what I did right on that truck and what I did wrong, and to still have time to fix it, you know, before
a little bit of a stress test.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
because it doesn't matter. There's gonna be issues. There's gonna be something that pops up.
100%. There's gonna be something I forgot to do, or
even if you best lay a plan out. I mean, there's always going to be stuff that pops up that didn't necessarily work exactly the way you thought it would.
Right. You know, I mean, and the other cool thing too is I get back from that cruise and I decide that, well, I still got money left over and I don't like the 4x4 Leafs in it. I want a bigger drop than that.
Right.
And I've got I have money left in that budget to where I can pull the front axle out and I can get them stretched and maybe even beg and plead that, hey, can I bring these down? And we, you know, I work with you guys and you guys kind of show me how to stretch it, and you guys do one side, I do the other or something. That way I can say I put a little extra, you know, I got to do something extra cool with this truck. And that's one of the cool things. You're going
to learn a lot, especially the guys that are in the same class as you. I mean, you're mm-hmm. going to learn techniques, and it's awesome that, you know, Simon lives so close to you. So if you run into something, you got a guy that's, you know, done it a couple of times.
Right.
You have people that you can holler at and go, hey, this ain't working.
Simon, I've got Travis, and I mean, there's a good support group of, like, if it comes up to a really hard spot where I'm totally lost, like I don't know what my next step is.
Yeah.
You know, I've got people I can reach out. I mean, there's a guy, Mitch Umrazat. He's not too far away. He's in the newbie class as well, and he's hit me up and, you know, been willing to help out on, like, before I got this topper, he was willing to help me out with a topper that he had to make it into a quote unquote like a camper topper, you know, which was pretty awesome. I mean, it's because I put out kind of on Facebook, I put out a call for help for looking for a camper topper. And a couple weeks ago, when this one that I found came about, a friend of mine tagged me in it, and I was messaging the gal that had it, and this was 2 hours after it was posted. I'm like, this thing's gone. This stuff doesn't last for very long. Well, all of a sudden she messaged me back and said she had it. She goes, yeah, I still have it. You know, when can you come get it? And it just so happened my truck had happened to be in the shop that weekend. And so I scrambled to find a truck, and I'm like, I can be there tomorrow before noon. And I tell you what, I probably got 4 messages and phone calls about this topper of people that are like, hey, I found a topper for you. Send me the links. And I just started chuckling. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I'm like, thank you all for reaching out and saying it to me. I've already got it on lockdown. I said, I'm going to pick it up tomorrow morning. So I got a hold of Simon. I said, Simon, this is in your backyard. I need some help. I said, I can't lift this topper by myself. Would you be willing to lend a hand? And sure enough, you know, I went over, picked him up, and we drove across town. We got to this lady's place. He made a phone call, got another buddy over, threw it on the trailer sideways and strapped it down. I'm like, all right, we're going to hope for the best. I said, either I'm going to get home and I have a topper, or I'm going to get home and I'm going to have a bunch of twisted up metal and wood and junk. You know, I wasn't overly, because I didn't want to drive down the highway. I kind of want to take county roads, and I really couldn't find the best route that wasn't over a couple hours. And I think it's about a 40-minute drive from Zumbrota to Racine for me. So I ended up getting down 52 down the highway. Started out doing about 50 miles an hour. I was that old man cruising down the highway that everybody hated, because the speed limit's 65. And I started getting braver and braver. And I think by the time I got about 25 miles in, about halfway home, I was doing about 55, 60 miles an hour. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm feeling confident. And closer I got home, all of a sudden I'm doing 65. And I think on that last 6-mile stretch, I was like, you know what, we're going to kick her up to 67. We're fine.
That sounds like
Topper's not going anywhere. So
me and
got
Ashley,
home.
That sounds like me and Ashley picked up it was a 40 Chevrolet cab, or it was truck, and we went and picked it up, and it was like 3.5 hours away. We loaded on the trailer. We didn't even get back out of the guy's neighborhood before the cab fell off of it.
Oh no.
So I'm like ratchet strapping it back on, doing the best we can with, you know, what we have. And it's getting dark, and we're still 3 hours from the house. And I'm like, you know what? It's dark. I can't see it back there. So we're just going to hop up on 75. I'm going to set the cruise control at 75, and whatever makes it when we get to the house will be whatever we have left.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly, I mean, after we got the topper loaded on, got to Simon's, I dropped him off, and we noticed one of the ratchet straps came undone. And it wasn't one that Simon did. Simon stayed nice and tight. So obviously it was a benefit having him with, because my dumbass currently didn't quite get the one tight that I did. But while tightening it up and kind of looking over the topper, I noticed that the cover for the dome light was missing, and I'm like, that was on there when I first got there. So I drove back. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna follow the route back, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, you know, I don't know why I'm doing this, because I'm gonna find it in a million pieces on the road, because somebody's probably ran it over.
Yeah. Well,
I found it 2 blocks from the lady's house in the middle of the road, and there was 2 cracks in it. Not broken, not in 2 pieces. It's still in 1 piece with 2 cracks in it. And I'm like, look at that. That is unbelievable. I was shocked. I really thought about going buying a lotto ticket that day, because I figured it would have been ran over and crushed in a million pieces, but got lucky with that. So got home with it and put it on my pickup. And I don't know, 68 or so Dodge. I haven't laid a tape measure out yet, but I'm thinking Dodge gave you a little extra on your pickup box. They gave you a little more than 8 foot because the topper is a little short for that box, which add some filler in to keep it sealed up, because this topper is going to be it's going to be my living quarters essentially, as far as the for rat stock and for the build off down, for the high class trash build off in Mississippi. I'm gonna be living out of it.
Okay.
So it's got to be somewhat watertight. It's got, I got to have tools, food, cooler. I got to have all my necessities in that topper or in that box. I've even contemplated, there is a Dodge pickup box that's been turned into a trailer that has a fiberglass camper shell in it, which is an older camper shell that's close by. I've really contemplated on buying that and just throwing that camper shell into my pickup box and putting this topper onto the Dodge pickup trailer and just having that in tow. So therefore I can have more junk to bring with.
Well, and the good thing with, what you've said so far, you're kind of eliminating a lot of the possibilities of stuff happening.
Right.
With doing air ride or doing this or doing that, a lot of times you got to carry extra shit.
Oh, absolutely. I remember last year going to Rat Stock, and I can't remember if it was when we first met up with everyone in Spring Valley or if it was one of the other stops. One of the guys, their air ride, they were having issues with some of their airline fittings. And one of the other guys happened to have some better airline fittings, if I remember correct, and was able to swap it out so that we could carry on the trip. But yeah, keeping it, for me, I think, keeping it simple is going to be the best way to go, because I've had my experience with vintage snowmobiles and building those, getting them running, all that stuff, and same with motorcycles. But automotive wise, I haven't really done a whole lot. I've done a little bit of wiring. I've done some brake work and stuff like that. Nothing like this. This is going to be a huge project for me. That it's going to be new. I'm going to be taking my cab and box off this 3/4 ton frame, rolling that out, and rolling in this 1/2 ton frame and chassis and dropping everything on it, and then finishing the build. To me it sounds simple and easy, but once I get into it, there's going to be challenges.
Definitely, but and you're going about it the right way, with keeping it simple and sticking to kind of what you know. And like I said, it'll be cool. And also,
yeah,
because a lot of times, and this is coming from somebody that's building a Cadillac on air ride with an LS motor and all that stuff, you overcomplicate it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't get done, or you one more thing it to death.
Right. And that's, Inisha is going to build that 55 Belvedere, and it's a 4-door. I bought that as a parts car for that 56 Belvedere that I had. And this 55, it's a straight 6, 3 on the tree with factory overdrive, which is pretty cool, except for the straight 6 part. Nothing cool there. I had a buddy of mine go, well, he goes, I've been looking at some 5.7 Hemis for you to drop into that thing. I'm like, God, that would be pretty cool. He goes, yeah. He goes, you should do that for the build off. I'm like, that would be really cool. And then I started getting scared. I'm like, this is on a deadline. I'm like, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to be able to complete this. Even though it's about a year and a half build, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to complete it. I have a job that gets in the way of doing cool stuff like that, which sucks, but it also funds the stuff. So I figure, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start with a 68 Dodge, and we're going to stay somewhat simplified with it. Once I get this thing done, I get a little hang of the build, then I'll look at this 55 Belvedere, and either we'll put a 5.7 Hemi in it, or find like an old school 2-stroke diesel just because I like the sound of them. Find something cool to put in it, and make that thing my own.
And also after this build, you'll kind of have a little more of a timeline of what can be done or what you can accomplish with, that thing that we all have to deal with, that job.
Right. Absolutely. That's kind of one of the cool things. Like when I sold off my Snowmobiles, my summer collection, that was back in 2021. I had a big online auction because that was during the COVID, when nobody could go out and nobody could have any fun. So I had that stuff all on auction, and I did really well on that sale. And one of the comments my dad made, he goes, some of that money, he goes, you should go buy a car hoist, because I was fortunate enough with the place, the property that I built, the house I bought. I had a 26 by 28, what I call a shop, oversized garage, and it has 11-foot sidewalls, so it's perfect for a car hoist. So I found bought a 4-post car hoist, had that put in, and I was like, you know what? Wow, I can fit one more car in here. I can fit 3 vehicles in here. So of course, why not buy another one?
Of course.
And then it was not long after that, the remark came from my dad. When I told you to buy a car hoist, it was to work on vehicles, not to use it for another storage. Well,
that's
true.
That's how you make friends, is you buy a trailer or a car hoist.
Yeah, and I don't know if I should say this on your podcast, especially now since everybody kind of knows where I live, but I do have a car trailer and a car hoist. So once this podcast comes out, I'll probably have a load of friends knocking on my door afterwards.
The enclosed trailer that I ended up with. I made the deal with the kid, knew I was getting it, and then I sold my flatbed trailer because I knew I was getting the enclosed. I'm like, I don't need both, and the Cadillac didn't fit on the 16-foot trailer. So he's like, hey man, I'm gonna get it unloaded. I'm like, man, just take your time. Like, I'm not worried about it. I said, I'm not really worried about it until the Cadillac starts moving. And he's like, well, I was like, now if I call you after I go test drive this car and it fails and I need a ride home, I'm going to need one of your trailers to come get me. He's like, okay, yeah. Because he had used the enclosed trailer is basically brand new. The gentleman before him bought it. They moved their house into it and sat next to their house while it was being built. And then, so it never went anywhere. And then he did the same thing. He bought it just to move from, 30 minutes or 30 miles apart, or not even 30, probably 20 miles apart from his old house to family land. And so it made that trip a couple of times. And then he was using it to store stuff until, the house got finished. And I was like, that's cool.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, with my car trailer, I was, a buddy of mine had borrowed it. Because he was going to pick up, I think it was an Impala that he was going to work on for a customer, and he's like, my he goes, I can't get in there with my big gooseneck trailer. It's where are this thing stored at? He goes, I need a small. I take my car trailer. I said, don't bring it back either. I said, if I need it, and I was hoping I wasn't going to need it so that I could just have that, free storage and leave it out there, and he could use it whenever he wants. But then I ended up finding that 70 Dodge chassis, that D200 chassis. So I'm like, hey, you done with that trailer? Can I use that this weekend? He goes, yeah, no problem. Come, it's there, ready to go. So I went down, picked it up, and then that weekend, me and the boy made that 5-hour drive up to the northwestern Minnesota, where it was even colder yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to borrow my trailer.
Yeah. I had to do that with my welder too. I had loaned it out to a buddy of mine. That's probably about 8 years ago, maybe. And I remember I'm like, here you go. I'm like, just keep it at your place. I know where it's at if I need it. Well, after a while, I'm like, it was actually a few months ago. I'm like, is it still mine? I'm like, he's had it for so long. I'm like, do I still own this thing or not? So I messaged him, like, hey, is there any chance I could get my welder back? I'm like, I got some projects coming up here soon that I'm gonna need it. Oh, yeah, no problem. So he brought my welder back. I have that ready to roll, and I just need to go get set up with gas for it, and if whatever I need to weld up on this project, I'll be ready to go. But yeah, and that's the other really cool thing is it gives me an excuse. This burlesque gives me an excuse to buy some tools that I've just been kind of lacking on, that I keep pushing off, and like, oh, I'll make do without that. Like I always thought, owning a porta power would be pretty cool, and I was going to initially like take the 1/2-ton springs on that truck on the front and open up the clamps and reassemble the spring packs so that I would have pretty much a straight leaf spring. Mm-hmm. So I was going to lower it that way. And I started debating, and I'm like, so I went and bought the porta power, which is, I think I bought it off Bevo or whatever, and it was like $80 or something. It's a 10-12-ton one. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I can go buy leaf springs. There's some leaf springs over in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, which is, it's only 2.5 hours away, which, I drove 5 hours for a chassis, so 2.5 is nothing. So I'm like, they're $50. So I went and bought the 4-wheel drive leaf springs for $50. So now the porta power is just sitting there for whatever other project that I may need it for. But there's going to be other stuff that I'm going to need that, I'm not foreseeing right now that'll have to get bought kind of on the fly. I've got a good assortment of tools. I think I have 3 toolboxes, and one of which was my grandpa's toolbox. There's tools that are got to be well over 50 years old, some of them in there. So it's kind of neat, that's the toolbox that anything that comes out of that goes right back into it.
Yeah.
And then I've got just the random tools that I've had throughout the years, and see what we can make do, see what I need to buy for tools. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting this build complete and running and driving, because the cool thing is just going to be turning that key on the ignition and just listening to that V8 just, lump along and getting it out on the road and just putting my foot right down to the floorboards and listening to them dual quads open up. And
oh yeah,
the depressing thing about it is going to be watching that fuel gauge, because I have a funny feeling that fuel gauge is going to run to E in a quick hurry. As soon as the secondaries open up on both of them quads.
It's going to be very proportionate to the amount of throttle position.
Absolutely. And I I'm going to have a hard time keeping my foot out of that throttle, just because of the sound and the power. I'm going to be like a 16-year-old kid with his first car that just cut his mufflers off.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing about having awesome sounding exhaust.
Yeah, you can't get enough of it. I mean, you gotta hear it all the time. You know, and I think it's going to be really cool. I'm super excited for it, and I mean the opportunity that Jim has provided. You know, for guys like me that, you know, like there's a newbie class where it's a bunch of us that really haven't done a whole lot. You know, we have some experience or whatnot, but we've never really done a build off start to finish. So there isn't that pressure of like, you know, going against, you know, building something and being in the same category grouped in as like Simon and some of the other builders that are, you know, the other phenomenal builders out there. You know, I mean, those guys build amazing vehicles that, man, I don't have that artistic ability to build what the cool stuff that they have. And it allows me and people like me to kind of step into it and see, like, is this truly what we want to do? Is this what, you know, and give us that whole, like, pride of ownership of building something, going, I built this is mine. I may or may not build another thing. I don't know. I mean, I really hope I do build another vehicle, you know, that, especially that 55 Belvedere. I think I will be, just because of my background. I would say it's an addictive background, because I started with these vintage snowmobiles. When I had my auction, the auction company showed up with two 24-foot enclosed trailers, and we had the floor filled up on both of them. I went to the auction house to kind of help list everything out, and I asked, where's all my stuff at? They're over in that corner, and I got over there like, oh my God, this is a lot of stuff. Like, I never realized how big the collection was. But I had stuff in my house, like on the main level, down in the basement, out in the shop, in the enclosed trailers, a lot of new old stock parts, rare stuff. You know, I had a bunch of cool stuff. So I got rid of that, and I'm like, well, now what do I do? Like, I have this addictive personality. I need to do something with it. So that's where the cars came in, and I picked up that 61 Imperial. I already had my grandpa's 65. And then the trip to Nebraska to pick up that 68, which that was desert turquoise in color, and sold that. And, you know, I've always kind of had that thing going. And then I got into pedal bikes, just because I found a 68 Schwinn Stingray 5-speed fastback on Facebook Marketplace for dirt cheap. So I went and bought that, and then I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to get into Schwinn bikes. Bought a couple more. And I'm like, oh, man, John Deere made kids' pedal bikes. They're ugly yellow, John Deere yellow. I'm like, I want to buy those. I want to get some. And they were built for a few years in the early mid-70s. And the only reason I wanted to get those is so I could rub it into my buddies that collected John Deere snowmobiles. Like, hey, look what I got and you don't. So I ended up finding a boy's bike and a girl's bike, and I had both of them, and I just recently sold those to a collector, just so I could generate cash for the build. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of one of them cool things. I'm like, you know, I always kind of try to get myself into something to where I'm not overly attached to it, so that I can release it. Obviously with snowmobiles, it never started that way. That was one of the things that, like, I planned on. I was going to be an old man. I'd have all these snowmobiles, but as I got into my late 30s, I was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything with this stuff, and it's sitting here collecting dust. Might as well let somebody else enjoy it. So that's where that stuff went. And then the pedal bikes, I'm like, I don't have an emotional attachment to it. And there's probably only one bike that I have in that out of the 4 or 5 that I have now. And it's this goofy, so in between the Schwinn Stingray era and the BMX bike era, there is the motocross pedal bike era, where Yamaha and Kawasaki, they made a full metal frame, full suspension bike, pedal bike. And there's a company, Montgomery Ward's made, or they sold a bike called the Silver Fox, if I remember correct. And I think they were made out of Janesville, Wisconsin by the Fox Corporation. I found one when I was a kid at the local dump that they had, in my town, local dump. And I had it, and I don't know whatever happened to it. And I always thought, well, it'd be cool to have one of them again. Well, I found one, and it's in immaculate condition. And that's the only bike that's I'm going to be fully attached to that I'm not going to sell, because I did it once and I regretted it. So the other bikes, yeah, those will probably get listed up for sale as soon as I need a little extra cash to get some parts here and there if I need, whatever I need be. I've got my engine already located. Happens to be right in Simon's backyard, up in Zumbrota. A guy up there has it. It's sitting in the car right now. He's just kind of waiting to get the time to get it pulled. And he goes, well, how soon do you need it? I said, look, man, I said, it's winter. I said, the truck's pulled in front ways in that shop. I said, I'm ready to put that engine in. I got to pull that truck out. I got to roll that chassis out, spin it around, and put it back in so that I can get that engine back in. I said, I'm not in a huge hurry. And at that point in time, too, I hadn't ordered up. I found out it costs over $500 because, MOPARs aren't cheap. It costs about $500 to take a car engine and set it up so you can put it in a truck engine or into a truck frame. Which, changing the oil pan and the dipstick location. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I don't know why Mopar, why Chrysler had to make everything difficult, but they did. And it's no different. Anytime I'm working on any of these Chryslers, I every now and again I'll kind of go ask my grandpa. I'm like, in an angry tone, like, Grandpa, why couldn't you get into something that like GM, Chevy, like you can get a catalog off the internet and you can build a Chevy car from the 50s out of that catalog. Mopar, it's like they don't recognize any of the cars that were made, any of the aftermarket places don't recognize the vehicles being made, pre 68, 69, unless it's a muscle car. So that's kind of the other fun thing too, is some of the stuff you have to search for and do some digging to really locate it, which I enjoy that hunt. It'd be nice if it wasn't so expensive with Mopar though.
Yeah, and doing something, again, you're doing something that there's probably not going to be another one.
Yeah, I mean that's, just going to car shows, and I'm sure much down Florida there, same as up here. I mean, you go to a car show and there isn't very many Mopar vehicles. There's always, you get your GMs, you get your Fords, but the Mopar is always kind of on that low count,
We have a unique thing with Don Garlitz being here, being a big Mopar. So you have a lot, I think he had probably close to 350 cars at the Mopar show last year.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Now, there is a big car show.
He also lets new stuff come too. But there was a bunch.
So you have your new Challengers and Chargers there.
Yeah, and so you had those, and then also there was it's the main draw is more of your muscle cars, but there was a couple. What was it there? It's Dodge's version of the Suburban Carryall. oh man, I can't think of the name of it now, but there was a gentleman there that had the original camp that he went to when he was growing up.
Okay.
Somebody had redone one of them, and then the other one was like the usable one, and he ended up having both of them. They did a big write up for some camp up north, and he had that. That was, so there was a few things, and then you had your oddballs of Rampages.
That was the second car I ever owned. It was a 80. First car I owned was a Dodge Charger. I always like starting it out with that because people are like, "Oh man, that's so cool! You own a Dodge Charger." It was a 1987 Dodge Charger. So the coolness just went away. Like, oh, you had a 2.2 liter 4-cylinder. Wow, look at you. That lasted me about a month, and the timing chain, the timing belt or whatever is in there decided to let loose. And, that car was done. So the next car was the 84 Dodge Rampage with a 5-speed in it. And everybody, this is, I don't know, maybe my job in my sophomore, junior year of high school. I could get that thing to bounce. I could get the front tires off the ground and the rear tires off the ground just by feathering that throttle just right in first gear. And, there were some people that thought it had hydraulics. I'm like, no. I'm like, it's just me beating the shit out of the car. You get in the high RPM and you get the bad shocks and the bad leaf springs. You get those moving just right in rhythm, and you could get everything up off the ground, front end, and then the rear, front, rear.
Yep.
Dodge Ramp. Yeah, I've had my fair share of Mopars throughout the years. Which is pretty cool. I had a '78 Dodge 1-ton dually. I had a 440 in it. That thing was cool.
I drove 11 hours for the only Mopar that I think I've ever owned.
Oh, really?
I think I'm thinking back. Yeah, I think that my 14, the Tow Pig.
Okay.
14,
sure.
14, 6.7 Cummins, Fleece Turbo, 38s.
Nice.
Yeah, I use it to tow shit, and I bought like the tallest one that I could find.
Might as well.
Well, it was honestly cheaper to drive 11 hours to Alabama to go get it than it was to buy one here.
It's crazy how that works out, isn't it? I mean,
and it was already it had already been through its diet. Really good on DEF. I haven't put DEF in it. I've owned it for like 2.5 years.
Nice.
Got rid of all that heavy exhaust stuff, and when I first pulled up, I was like, "Hey, can y'all even sell this like this?" Because I didn't think you could.
That's the best way to have them.
Well, I was trying to use it to get a little bit more off. Especially, we drove there twice because the first time we went, they wouldn't take an out-of-state check.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So, and I was like, well, just finance it and I'll pay it off. And they're like, okay, well, the only bank that deals with out-of-state people closes in like 10 minutes.
Oh,
and I'm
good God.
like, well, I guess try it. And then we come home, went back up the next weekend with money. And I'm like, this is, but I mean, it's been a real good truck.
It's good.
Other than coming home, we had to do an alternator on it.
Oh, really?
Didn't even make it home. Yeah, when we test drove it, it was like slow start, and I was like, "Hey, man, just have them throw 2 new batteries in it and check the charging system." Well, I threw 2 new batteries in it and did not check the charging system. So we were coming back through Alabama, and I had been up I worked all day Friday. No, I'd worked all day Thursday. We left Friday morning, like early. So I didn't really get a whole lot of sleep. So I'd been up for a good little chunk of time. So once we got
Yeah.
back up on the interstate, I just told Ashley, I said, hey, keep it straight and keep it under 100, and I'm going to take a little nap. And I woke up and I'm like, okay, I'll take it back. And we're driving, and I'm like, the radio shut off. I was like, that's weird. I'm like, it's getting hot in here. AC ain't working no more. I'm like, man, I'm really regretting this whole decision now. And then I looked.
And I'm sure Ashley's looking at you. She's going, dude, man, like, what'd you do? This thing was working just fine when I was driving it. Now you're driving it and things breaking apart, falling apart.
It started shutting shit off. And I was like, what the? Like, headlights went off. It started raining. The wipers wouldn't work. I'm like, man. And I looked down. I just happened to like flip through the dummy meter on the dash, and I was like, oh, 9.5 volts. Good thing it's a diesel because it ain't going to shut off. But,
right.
But everything else is not happy about it.
Right.
So it was just kind of nicking stuff off so we pulled up and changed alternator in AutoZone parking or Advanced Auto Parts parking lot. Fun times, man. It's the stories.
Right.
You can have them in new shit too. So what is a show or event that you try to make every year?
In the past it was MOPARs in the park. It used to be up in Shakopee, Minnesota, and now it's I'm drawing a blank on where I can't remember the name, but it's up by the Twin Cities, by Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's east of there. If you love Mopar, that is the place to go because you're going to get your eyes plumb full of Mopars. I always try making it up there, but now for me, after the past 2 trips to Rat Stack down to the Seiko Silo Saloon.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, that is my, that's where I'm going. Go down with Simon, who's now become a good friend, my buddy Travis, Nord, Kenny. If you haven't seen any of the videos he's in of Rat Stock, he's probably in every video clip. But he also had the U-Haul, which I call the U-Haul Inn. He took that out in the dirty drags, and he drag raced Sam Heffley. This big old U-Haul box truck from, I don't know, the 70s or something like that. He drove that thing all the way down. I think they put that thing together. They finished putting that together the week of Rat Stock. And Kenny put his Ford pickup in the back of it, and away we went. And he has that set up with his living quarters. I mean, Rat Stack it's amazing. I mean, it's now become an event where I look forward to going. It is so cool. Like, for anyone that hasn't been there, it's definitely worthwhile. I mean, you'll meet new friends, you'll see cool sights. If you don't have fun at Rat Stock, you're dull. I mean, you're definitely shouldn't be in the car community. I mean, it's a blast.
Hell yeah! Is there a show or event that you've never made that you want to make?
I would say, I mean, for me, kind of in the local aspect, there is, and I had an opportunity, but I had some stuff come up this year, but it's been one for quite a few years I've been wanting to go to, and it's the Frankensteiner's Ball. That's north of the cities, and I have quite a few friends that go to that, and even from getting into this rat ride community, guys in the vintage snowmobile world that also are into old vehicles and stuff of that nature, classic cars, they go to that Frankensteiner's Ball. So that's always one thing that I've always wanted to make, but I've never really got there. It's another one that's on the list of things to hit up. hopefully I'll be able to get there eventually. Hopefully, maybe next year with my truck, maybe I'll make it up there with that.
Hell yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool. What about yourself? What's kind of one of your favorite shows, minus the Don Garlits one?
We usually try to make Turkey Ride Run every year just because it's local. Obviously my favorite show is the Hangout, which is our show. For anyone that's listening up by you, our weather's way better in January than y'all's is.
Oh, 100%.
I can pretty much say anywhere else in the country besides, like, I don't know, SoCal.
Yeah, I mean,
our weather's better in January than most places. The West Coast Custom Show, I really love that show. That was my first time ever getting out there. The Lost in the 50 show was cool too. I just I guess the way that I look at shows is I don't necessarily care what show it is. I just like the way that certain people do shows. So like our show, for example, is not a trophy hunter show. We don't do a top 30. We don't do a top 25. We give out 3 awards: a podcast pick, a lady owned or lady driven, and the furthest distance driven. Our advertisers and our sponsors, we encourage them to build trophies and give out their pick. And then any car clubs that come, we want you to build a trophy and give away your pick. That way, what we were trying to do is we're trying to mimic the 60s and 70s of pulling up at your buddy's house, ordering pizza and beer. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, Don Garlits doesn't allow alcohol sales, but you can't have alcohol on premise. But you're parked in front of Don Garlits' personal garage at his museum.
That's pretty cool.
You get a discount into the museum if you register a car. And if you've never been in that museum, or if it's been a while since you've been in there, it's always something new, even year to year. I walked through it. Me and Ashley walked through it. She'd never been through it. It had been quite a few years since I had walked through it last year, and I seen stuff that I didn't remember. And then we walked through it when we went up to sign papers for this year, and there's more stuff in there.
Nice. I know we've got, there's some, locally here. I mean, shoot, I totally I don't know why it's mixed up, but pretty much right across the street from me, we have this really cool car show. It's called the Summer Send-Off. This last year it was kind of an impromptu throw together show because there's some family emergencies that popped up with the gal that puts the show together and gets all the prizes and everything gathered up. So she wasn't going to do it this year because she didn't have the bandwidth. She didn't have the gumption to do it. And this show in the year prior was over 200 cars, with a burnout pit, dyno. It's a big event, and a handful of us guys were like, dude, we got to do it. She goes, well, I don't have everything. And, my mother-in-law passed away. I don't have it in me this year. I'm way behind if I was even to start getting everything. We're like, Mary, you don't know. Just have, let's put the show on. We don't need awards. We don't need, let's just get everybody there and hang out and have a fun day. It's just call it a cruise-in. And that's what we did. And there was well over 150 cars, which was spectacular. I mean, it was pretty cool to be able to get that many people. And it was, I'll say, quote unquote, a short notice type of event. I mean, it was, usually there's several months that this is being promoted and put out, and this was probably a month notice or less. And we had people showing up, and the cool thing about that is it allows, I can bring more than one vehicle there because I just throw one of those pedal bikes, I throw that in the box of the pickup, drive the truck over, park it, come back and grab my car and drive that over. So I'm able to bring at least 2 vehicles over there. You know, if I have more running, then, you know, I think in the years past, I think at one point in time I had 3 vehicles there. I think I did. So that makes it nice having it, you know, really close by, within walking distance. I can show off more vehicles. But you know, and then we have another one that's Fins and Films is another cool event that's 10 miles south of me, that the car show is right on Broadway in Spring Valley, and I think they still kind of run off of 1980 and older cars or something of that nature. And they have a pinup show, and come dark, they'll have a quote unquote drive-in where they show a film on the Broadway there on like a, you know, you pull your cars up and park there, or pull up chairs and watch the movie. That town used to have a drive-in theater, you know, years and years and years ago, and that's something that's been disappearing a lot all across the United States. It's that cool drive-in experience, and they kind of provide that. I mean, you know, people just get their lawn chairs out and they sit and, you know, family-friendly movie, and kind of a neat little event. And I think they do a two-day deal with that one. They even have like a little camper show, and they have a burnout contest, where that's where you'll see that one. There is the one where you see guys, they will bring a spare set of tires and they will run until they blow the tires. They're in it to win it, which is pretty cool. It's always fun watching somebody break their own stuff.
Yeah, and that was kind of, you know, we did a couple we tried to have a little cruise-ins and stuff like that, and it works. Mm-hmm. You know, I prefer that better because, and maybe it's me, I just feel like I have a better time when it's just hanging out with your buddies. It's,
yeah, I mean,
you know, especially, you know, like our show, you know, you get some local, and you get all kinds, because it isn't all you're welcome. Because of the podcast, we want basically everybody to come. We want, you know, because it's
more of a car enthusiast club.
It doesn't matter, you know. It doesn't matter because a lot of times, you know, we had a matter of fact at one of our cruise-ins, this kid pulled in, and it was a Honda Accord or something, and he parked like on the other side of the parking lot. And he walked over and he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" I was like, "Are you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why'd you park over there?" And he's like, "Well, because I didn't think I could park with y'all." And I'm like, "Go get your car, dude. Like, get over here."
Right.
And he's like,
"Yeah."
I
mean,
and I'm like, "Yeah, man." Like, he's like, "Oh, I love the old cars. I just can't afford to get in one." And I'm like, "I understand. You know, it's. I'm fortunate that my wife is almost as car as I am, so she you know, we're fortunate that we both have a daily and then we both have cars. Neither one of them are running currently, but we both have them. They're out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. You have them.
You know, but a lot of times, you know, a young cat, we don't have kids. You know, so, but if a young cat has a family and he's trying to start a family, he's got a couple kids.
Well, that's tough.
You don't have money for a daily and a toy.
No.
And depending on, you know, if you need reliable transportation, kind of like we were talking about before the podcast, you know, you can't, you know, these aren't the cars that you take when you're in a hurry.
Absolutely not. I mean, yeah, I mean, you got to start them up. You got to warm them up. You got to, you know, kind of go through a little checklist. You got to make sure
that it wants to go.
Absolutely. You know,
Ashley's car was very, very temperamental. If you we got to leave at 1:00. If you waited till 1:00 to go try to leave, you ain't leaving till 1:15, 1:30. Because something, you know, the battery's dead, or didn't check the air in the tires or whatever, and it'll make you late. And
100%.
And it also, that's kind of what, one of the things that I like about the older stuff is it kind of makes you slow down.
Absolutely.
You're not going to put her 235, even with the S10 5-speed up on the interstate and go run 80.
No.
It will do 75.
Not.
It will do 75. It's not happy about it, but it will.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time we went somewhere, and it was a big group of people, and they're like, oh, we're going to hop up on the interstate for one exit. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But everybody else was, so I was like, all right, let's do it. And it wasn't happy. When we got off the interstate, it was not happy. But it made it home. And, it's not ideal.
Right.
But now it is officially the motor that I was building for my Model A. It apparently got close enough to realize that that's the motor that's going in it. So now it has decided that it no longer wants to run.
Of course.
So, and I tried to Band-Aid it and fix it and keep it going, and it decided it didn't want to do that anymore. So now it's like, okay, well, once I get the Cadillac running and driving where I can get it out from underneath the carport, and I'll put her car in and slap a small block in it, and she'll get her automatic out of the deal. And I do got to find another intake for it because she doesn't want me to cut her hood for the tunnel ram. So,
I mean that sounds pretty cool though. I mean, I'd be all for cutting a hole in the hood for tunnel ram.
I kind of, honestly speaking, it's probably going to end up with some sort of sniper or ace or something on it.
Oh, sure.
That way I don't have to, which she's gotten good now, but I want to kind of take out, like you said, I want to kind of take out the possibility, if
somebody, more dependable.
If somebody's looking at her and she walks out there and it doesn't fire on the first 52 times, I don't want her to be frustrated or, because it only makes it worse if you get frustrated.
100%. And yeah, I mean, I've been, I've had it where, like the car club that I belong in, Stewie Cruisers, we do our Friday night cruise in every Friday night, hang out, it's all inclusive car club. But, for the local school, for the graduates, we do a cruise with the graduates. And so they can either drive their vehicles or they can jump into one of our vehicles and ride with us around. And we take a big lap around our town. It's a town of about 5,000 people. And I had, was it 2 years ago? I think it was. I had my son and a couple of his buddies in my 65 Sport Fury. And we made it probably halfway through, and the car died right in front of the church. I was up towards the front of the pack, so everybody drove past and everybody honked and laughed and took their pictures. And come to find out, as I'm frustrated and embarrassed, like, oh, the car broke down, everybody sees me. The coil decided to crap out. So I had the kid run home, grab a spare coil because, why would you keep it in the trunk? So get the new coil, put the used coil on, fired up. I got to the car show, and, obviously I got the ribbings of, oh, see, Mopars don't run. And, all my buddies picking on me about it. And my buddy Travis's dad, Bob, comes up to me and goes, so what happened? I said, the coil. He goes, yeah, what, a couple good starts out of it, and then it shut out, didn't it? It just magically shut off. He goes, yep. He goes, remember that. And that's one thing, it hasn't happened since on any of the other vehicles, but it's one thing now I remember, and I'm like, all right, if this happens again, this is what Bob told me, and so this is what I'm going to do is I know I'll get a couple good starts out of it, and that's it. I won't be able to make it far once it starts failing, because I probably made it maybe half-hour runtime, I think, total all together, because, we're cruising at like 5 miles an hour through town. But yeah, it was definitely one of them learning lessons, and in the trunk of that car is now a coil, that brand new coil. So I know that if that happens again, I'll have it. I also have I upgraded the ignition to the 70s style MOPAR pointless ignition. So I have a brand new brain box sitting in the trunk as well. Some things I've been learning, like, all right, the stuff isn't always dependable, and some of this equipment is 50 plus years old that's on this car. So I'm gonna have to start carrying parts with it. And that's one thing I got to remember with this truck is, figure out my list of parts that I'll need. One of the things I plan on is actually putting an HEI ignition in it, so that I don't have to deal with points or anything of that nature. And I should have a nice hot spark.
Oh, and Ashley's car, it's, when we picked it up, we kind of went through it a little bit. I had an exhaust leak. It was so low that me and her couldn't ride in it together without scraping or not moving. So we did a couple of things like that, and still to this day, I've never had to go get it with a trailer. And
nice.
It always breaks in the yard.
That's the best place to break down.
So, it started running a little crappy, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And I was looking at it, and one day it didn't start, so looking at it a little bit more, and it sounded like it wasn't getting spark. So I'm running through test or whatever, and I reached down and touched the distributor, and the distributor moved, and there was a zip tie, and you could hear the zip tie let go, and I'm like, that's weird. So I turned the distributor a little bit, and I said, try it. And it started, and I turned it. And I'm like, oh, it's running away good now. Turned it a little bit more, and it stopped, and it was running real good. And I'm like, that's what the zip tie was doing. It was holding the distributor in place.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
So what do? Throw a zip tie in the glove box, put a new one on the distributor, and you'll fix it later.
Away you go.
Because you had some RD. And it's still on 100%. There. The trip to Orlando with I had to vapor lock the fuel because it had metal fuel rail or fuel line that went over top the valve cover. So it vapor locked. I let it sit, started up, drove it home. We stopped to get gas, probably maybe 10 minutes from house, and fill it up with fuel. And I go to start it. It ain't starting. It's vapor locked again. I'm like, well, that's, now everybody's like, oh man, nice car. And you're like, for about a double cheeseburger, I'd give you this motherfucker right now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
I think we've all been there.
And I had, so I was like, we waited till like nobody was looking, and we kind of like shoved it over in the corner. Like we weren't broke down. We were just waiting on somebody, and told my buddy, he called me. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, not much, man. What are you doing? He's like, well, I was going to swing by the house. I said, cool, come grab me first. And went home, hooked trailer up, got there, and I'm like, before we push this joker on it and ruin its 100% success rate of getting home under its own power, I breathed on the key. It started up like it ain't never run at that good in its whole entire life.
Oh, sure.
My buddy's brother, he'd never been in anything old, so I was like, hey, you want to ride with me? And told Ashley, I said, hey, load the ramps on the trailer, and I'll meet y'all at the house. And he's like, all right, yeah, I'll ride with you. So he gets in, and he, like, shuts the door. I'm like, hey, man, you got to slam it. And he's like, slams it again. I'm like, that might work. Probably got to slam it harder, but all right, we'll try it. And he's looking around. I'm like, what are you looking for? He's like, seatbelts. I'm like, yeah, we ain't got none of them.
Right.
And
that's
and it's still really low, so like it's the exhausters ran under the cross members, not through them, so it scrapes everywhere, and frame hits the axle every once in a while, and drive shaft hits the floor, and it's creaking and crumbling. You can hear it, and he's looking terrified. I'm like, no, this is normal, dude. Like, just relax, you're fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's normal.
Go to make a left-hand turn, and it does the old school car thing where it goes to one latch on the door, and I'm like, hey, man, I told you needed to slam that. I'm like, we're straight now. Go ahead and slam it again. Hard. I slammed it hard. I'm like, nah, that'll get us home. But
right. That's one thing, with my grandpa and his old cars that he had, all these old Mopars, and that was the one thing that, don't slam the door, don't slam the door. And now some of these older vehicles that I have, people get in and they'll just slightly close the door. I'm like, no. You close that door. You slam that.
Well, that's the Cadillac.
You gotta make sure it's closed.
The Cadillac is the complete opposite. Cadillac, the door it shuts better than a new car.
Oh, no kidding.
If you get the door anywhere close to getting shut, it'll like it sounds nice. I'm like, oh my gosh. But
that's pretty amazing.
Power windows, power door locks. I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know how to act.
Right. It's pretty something.
Although it doesn't have AC. It did have AC from factory, but the AC box got broke. And the kid that I bought it off of, he thought he could find a new box, so he threw the box away. And you can't.
Oh, no.
So it has no AC. Eventually, depending on how long I keep it, because I have a real habit of not hanging on to anything real long. The 54 wasn't supposed to hang around as long as it has, but partially because Ashley likes it, why it's probably still here.
Sure.
But I'll probably throw an under dash unit or behind dash unit, connect to the old, and then just run a electric compressor, because I have an air compressor, engine driven air compressor on the motor in place of an AC compressor. So. Okay.
Yeah, I know. My '65 Sport 3 that has AC on it, and I tell you what, Chrysler really did a good job as far as the only time I run that AC is just to run it and keep everything moving.
Yeah.
Because with the floor vents and the wing windows, and the Sport Fury, it's a 2-door car, so I roll down the front windows and the back windows, which I think is pretty cool. Especially, I like to show off with that. So if I'm around like a group of people, I just roll down all 4 windows just to have that cloud of, hey, look, I've got power windows in this old car.
Is that a post car?
No, it's
so it's just one solid hole when all the windows go down?
Absolutely, and that's the cool.
That's how the Cadillac
I love
is.
it.
I sent Ashley a picture. We got something pretty cool in the works, and they wanted a picture of our cars, and I was like, I don't have any good pictures of the car because since I've owned it, it's never ran.
Sure.
So I went back on the previous owner, and I was like, he's got a couple pictures of it on air, but he's got different wheels. And I was like, damn. So I just went online and I found a 62 Cadillac on white walls and hubcaps, which is what the car's going on.
Oh, nice.
And it's black and red, which is what the car is now. And I sent Ashley a picture and I was like, hey, do you think anybody'd notice? And she's like, well, yeah. I'm like, what? And she's like, the door handles are shaved. I'm like, mine are going to be too. And she's
right?
like, well, and there's nothing between the windows. I'm like, there's nothing between my windows when they go down. And she's like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, because on the Cadillac, both the front and rear window have like a little chrome trim that's on the window.
Oh, sure. Yep.
So when they're both up, it looks like a little tiny pillar, but it's really not. It's just, well, it used to be chrome. Now it's crusty trim, but
it kind of runs on the vertical in between the two glass.
Yeah, it's it kind of like hugs the window, actually all the way around the window.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
like
that's pretty cool.
the top makes it where it would go into the felt, and then the middle just kind of gives it something to stay closer together without having to rub glass together.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, it's way. Yeah, I guess mine is between the front and rear glass. There's
Yeah.
a little piece of chrome or stainless,
Yeah.
and it's got the seal or the gasket that you call that would kind of hold everything together. And it's kind of funny. You're talking about the picture, and it reminded me that this was probably 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, when I um, first met my girlfriend. I showed up to her place on the 4th of July, and of course, I was at our 4th of July car show. So I had my car with, and I parked that right up front. Met her, chatted with her for a while, and I'm like, look, I got to get going. Parade's gonna be starting. They're probably gonna tow my car because I'm parked out on the parade route. And it just so happened there's a couple from Colorado that were, I think the gal was originally from Rochester, and they snapped a picture of my car and they posted it up on the 6566 Plymouth Fury Facebook page about coming for all that way, and they both had a pair of 66 Furies. And then a few years later, some guy made a comment on there saying, I have that picture in my office or something like that in his house. I said, I don't believe it. Why would you? I said, prove it to me. I'm like, send me a picture. And lo and behold, that he had that picture on his wall, and that was the bigger picture out of, like, I think there's like 4 other pictures of Plymouth Furies or something, but mine was the big one. And I'm like, that is so cool. Like, my car is on somebody's wall that has no idea who the hell I am, but he thought that car was cool. Like, I'll take it.
Well, that was when I picked up the Caddy, I was talking to a couple buddies, and the one guy, he's out in California, and one of his car club brothers has a 63, or no, I'm sorry, a 61. And we were shooting pictures back and forth, and he's like, what's the plan for it? And at the time, we were road tripping to Cali, and I was like, bag 20s, thin white walls, or as wide a white wall as I can fit on a low pro tire. And he's like, oh man, he's like, it looks good, but you might want to reconsider that whole 20s if you're going to try to road trip it. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, but it does look good. And he sent me over a picture, and I'm like, man, that car's so killer. Well, then I was talking to Matt with the Tampa Bay Cadillac Kings, and he's like, you've probably seen my car. And I'm like, what? And he's like, it's a white 62, and it was the car.
No kidding.
I'm like, dude, I have your car in my phone as like inspiration of what I want my car to look like when it's done. And he's like, no shit. And I'm like, yeah. But he's a 62 Cadillac fanatic. So the last 62 he had, it was a hearse. And then when those 2 hurricanes came through last year, it flooded the car.
Oh no.
So now he's on the lookout for a 62 convertible.
Well, I'm just looking up 62. I mean, that's a pretty good year.
The only thing that I wish, and I'll say it on a podcast, so maybe it'll happen, because this happens every once in a while. I wish I could find a 61 front bumper.
Okay.
Because the 62 has like rectangle lights in the bumper, whereas the 61 has round lights that match the headlights.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, the difference between a 61 and a 62 is my rear lights are vertical, as 61 lights are horizontal. and then the front bumper is rectangle on a 62 versus round on a 61. But everything else is the same.
Yeah, those are
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Those are a sharp looking car.
Well, man, before we get out of here, what is one piece of advice that you would give somebody that's trying to get into this car world?
Good God, don't be afraid. I mean, man, I never thought I'd have a classic vehicle, you know, and then I got one. I never thought I'd be building a rat rod, entering a build off, and doing this extensive amount of work that I'm doing now. Boy, don't be afraid. I mean, jump out and try something different. I mean, try something new. Worst that's going to happen is that you don't get it finished right away. I mean, you can always pluck away, but man, what cool experience to do it. I mean, this is a cool opportunity. And like I said, I mean, if you had asked me 7-8 years ago, like, if I would be in the car community like I am now, as far as even getting into it, because I always was the one that, like, those old cars, they are cool, and it's even cooler that somebody else owns it because that's their headache. But, you know, it's cool to have it become your own headache to where you get to work on them, and now in my case, I'm building something that, you know, here's a new challenge. You know, I get to build this thing and build this truck and make it running and driving again with a completely different power plant. And where lights and turn signals all work when they're asked to work. It's a huge challenge, but don't be afraid. I mean, shoot, there's always plenty of people out there that are willing to help and lend knowledge and information to get this stuff moving, you know. I mean, the coolest thing is the amount of people that I've started getting friend requests from just out of this build off. It's amazing, and the people that are friends of mine personally that have stepped forward, like, hey, if you need help with any, you know, don't be afraid to let me know. I'll come help you work on this. I don't know if they just want their face on YouTube or, you know, but I mean, the great thing is they want to help, and that's the cool thing. Don't be afraid to ask for the help, and don't be afraid to try something new. The cars are fun. It's a huge reward, you know.
Well, hell yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on. And
I appreciate you for having me.
Looking forward to seeing what you come up with.
Me too.
And before we get out of here, I'd like to thank our wonderful sponsors and also invite anyone that would be interested in coming on board as an advertiser for 2026. Reach out. We'll work something out, but make sure you go show Why Not Fab some love, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Always check out Throttle Addict, code word Hot Rod to get saved 15% off. Johnny Jalopy, you check him out on Facebook, YouTube, johnnyjalopy.com. Wrenching for the Future, check out their latest builds on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And definitely a huge shout out to Psycho Fab. Until next time, guys, get out and drive your shit. Later.